Welcome to Valor Otherworld. We're bringing you the story of the first witch in Ireland, Alice Kyteler, here beside me. This woman was accused of witchcraft and had a standoff with the church in Ireland. It was a battle between secular law and church law, which went down in history and is remembered today, hundreds of years after the event. And this wasn't just any ordinary woman. This was a self-made, powerful member of society with powerful friends. And she faced opposition because of accusations that she slept with the devil or another demon and had murdered her 4 husbands to take their wealth, as well as controlling a local cult. This culminated in the burning of a woman who was most likely completely innocent and uninvolved in everything that transpired. So what are you waiting for? Join us for the adventure. Let's go. Alice Kyteler was born into a merchant family. Her father was a Norman banker and she had great business acumen. The lady married 4 wealthy men, and in all cases they predeceased her, so she inherited a very healthy widow's dowry, which she was able to use to grow her businesses and expand her interests, moving into money lending. Now, money lending is a contentious issue and led to some hostility between her and some of her neighbours, eventually leading to her being accused of witchcraft, with all kinds of crazy statements and fantastic stories being told about her. But that's where we're going next. William Outlaw was the first husband of Alice Kyteler. Now, they were married for several years when he became very ill and died suddenly. His wealth passed to her and their son William, and she married Adam, her second husband. Now, when she married Adam, there was an accusation that she had done something to cause her husband's death, William. She was accused of poisoning him and conspiring with Adam to do so. They were acquitted. There wasn't evidence for this, but Adam himself died several years later, and she married again another wealthy man, and this time Richard, her third husband, he died a short time after their marriage. And finally she married John the Poor, and he was a very powerful man in the area, and he himself also died. Before he died, he seemed to be sure someone was poisoning him, and his health depreciated very rapidly. When he did eventually die, he had actually signed a contract changing the inheritance, moving more of his wealth from his stepchildren to William and Alice. This caused Alice to become an enemy of her stepchildren, many of them at least, who brought this to the attention of the Bishop Le Dread. This case would serve as a platform for him to jump forth and take on witches in Ireland. So Alice's stepchildren brought this to the attention of the Bishop of Ossory, the new Bishop of Ossory, who was Richard de Le Dread. And this man ordered a court of inquisition, which constituted 5 knights and several noblemen, and they were to investigate Alice for the following crimes: of being the head of a coven of witches, of laying with a demon by the name of Artisan, and of murdering her own husbands. This battle resulted in clergy versus secular law, and it led to a conflict between the allies of Alice and her detractors, and it could only end in bloodshed. Whatever else might be said about Bishop Le Dread, he was a highly intelligent individual, and William and Alice tried to have him imprisoned. Alice's son William had a close ally in Sir Arnold Le Poor, and this man ordered the sheriff of Kilkenny to serve a warrant for the arrest of the bishop. They had a full plan on how they were going to do it without actually having to lay hands on him, but the bishop was anticipating everything. Ledred did not resist arrest, but insisted on keeping the warrant so that he could use it in future so they would not be able to deny who had issued his containment. He also insisted that the sheriff lay his hands on the bishop as proof of the arrest and had witnesses in public in Kilkenny city. He also refused bail and did not want to acknowledge the authority, the legal authority of those who were imprisoning him. And this was all so that he could challenge it at a later date. These highly calculated actions informed Alice and her allies of just exactly how dangerous the bishop was going to be, and they had no time to waste. They needed to get charges against him fast. The bishop didn't have much time, but while in prison, the bishop placed an interdict on the diocese, which meant no marriages, no baptisms, no mass. By doing this, he put enormous pressure because the religious community here were pushing and pushing against his imprisonment, and they were eager to get him released. And a big crowd were coming to the castle every day to visit him. And eventually, he was released. But before this, there was a huge scramble by William Outlaw, the son of Alice Kyteler, and his friend the Sentinel, to find evidence against him. They found old accusations against the bishop and brought them before him and attempted to extract a kind of confession from him. But they were unsuccessful because the bishop claimed they were excommunicated and had no right to question him, and he refused furthermore to answer any secular authority short of the King of England himself. Without being able to break the bishop, they had no option but to release him. Even when he was released, he refused to walk out like a common criminal. He insisted on his vestments and his garments and a procession of clergy to march with him out to show he was not like any other kind of criminal who had been contained within the castle. And it was now his time to strike. Once freed from prison, Ledred went to the Kilkenny court to push the arrest of heretics. Arnold the Seneschal refused. Ledred forced his way into court with his followers, which included Dominicans and Franciscans. Arnold sought the removal of this ignorant, low-born vagabond from England. Arnold tried and failed to have Ledred removed from court, as assaulting the bishop was seen as an assault on the body of Christ. Eventually, the bishop left on his own terms. The issue was finally dealt with in Dublin. While Alice had many powerful friends, Ledred made sure to attend only when he knew other bishops and clergy were in attendance. During the case, Alice, William, and Arnold insulted and attacked the church, causing the case to swing in favour of Ledred. Once it became clear she had lost, Alice made plans and vanished, apparently fleeing to England or Flanders. Alice Kyteler escaped. She managed to flee to England for a second time, and she was not to be heard from again. She took with her the daughter of Petronella, one of her servants. Her son William Outlaw was caught and managed to get a light sentence. Now, he did not fulfill his penance, which quickly resulted in him being thrown back into prison. And Petronella was brought before the judge, jury and executioner in the form of Bishop Ledred. Now, Petronella faced her end, and it was a tragic one because she was defenceless without the dame Lady Kyteler and without her son William Outlaw. There was no one left to protect her. And she was to be used as an example for anyone else who wished to defy Bishop Ledred. She was tortured until she confessed to 6 of the 7 crimes laid against her and the others accused of being involved in a coven. The bells tolled on the life of Petronella as she awaited her fate. Petronella was whipped 6 times for her crimes, and then she was brought here before the Tulstel and burned alive publicly. And this spectacle was burned into the minds of the people of Kilkenny, and it had such an impact that once word of it reached William, he immediately recanted, came before the bishop, not as equals anymore, but on his knees in the mud, begging for forgiveness. As his penance, William Outlaw had to pray, go on a crusade, and feed the poor. Lastly, he was told he had to provide a larger quantity of lead to service the roof of the cathedral at St. Canice's Cathedral. Unfortunately, the weight of the lead actually led to the collapse of the cathedral several years later. Bishop Ledred's victory over secular law marked a change in society and culture. But what happened to Alice Kyteler remains a mystery to this day, because when she left the country, there was nothing heard of her again.